What's up, everybody? Welcome to House Divided right here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum, joined as always by Aggie Chad. No, just Chad Hastings. Doesn't go by Aggie Chad. He's not even wearing you wouldn't even know based on the setup that there's a lot of maroon in that household. It's so colorful in the Hall of Helmets when they're all turned backwards, and they all look like Navy helmets and Notre Dame helmets when they're just turned backwards, Chad.
Yeah. The college ones.
Because you can't see the decals.
Right. At first, the idea was you get turned to the back if you don't have a bowl game or I can't represent the bowl game. But then we got all these teams here that are, that lost to either Ohio State or somebody else along the way.
Why is Georgia in shame, but A&M is not?
Because A&M had a bowl game that I could represent. And
they lost to USC. Like, they should be in shame for the rest of the spring.
All right, fair enough.
And Oklahoma, too. They lost to freaking Navy. They're in shame.
All right, we'll do that. There you go. There it is. Okay, there you go. There you have it. See, we can always adjust the Hall of Helmets. It's always adjustable. Once we get back for Monday, right up here over my head will be the two Super Bowl teams, along with the on-air sign and the NFL football. So we'll have all that going on.
You definitely need to keep that Cowboys helmet in shame into perpetual non-bliss. Guys, like, comment, subscribe to the page. We always appreciate all of those things. Jump into the Specs chat. Chat away. Send us super chats. The bottom line is chatting is interactive, and we encourage the interactiveness. So by all means, specs it up. And, well, hell, Chad, let them hear from Lisa real quick.
Yeah. Oh, yes, we can do that.
Since we're just giving Specs a little bit of love.
Let's give them some love.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
Also, kids, just a lesson from Uncle Chad and Uncle Ketch today. There's a saying in the old days that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And it's kind of, in a way, that's sort of the way the portal works. But in this case, if you've been watching that spec spot and thinking, man, they've been playing that same spec spot a while. We were thinking that too. We just never asked the question, apparently, the right way to the right person. But apparently we got new spec stuff that's going to be coming on the way, and it's going to be switching out. So we'll have some new spec spots for you coming very soon.
Better have Lisa.
Yeah, I'm assuming, right? Because I see Lisa in all kinds of cool spots on games, and I get selfish for us, and I think, I'd like to play that one.
We cool. Riot if Lisa's not involved.
That's right. Can I play that? You can even take the rabbit out. Rabbit can be out if Lisa's still in.
I know the rabbit's going to be there, so I'm not even going to react to that.
That's fair. He's
the mascot.
He is. He is the mascot. That is true. Money B in the building as always. What's up, Money B? Glad you are here. All right, Catch. So before we get to the meat and potatoes, because boy, is it a meat and potatoes kind of discussion today, I would just like to point out that sometimes the universe just gives us all a gift. Because if you entered two Notre Dame offensive linemen going into the portal, if you put it into an AI generator, I think it would spit out the names Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler. Like, it's so perfect. They sound like two cops trying to run down Nucky Thompson in Boardwalk Empire. It's such a good match.
No, those guys were All-Americans in Rudy. I'm pretty sure one of those guys,
right? Those jerseys
put his jersey on the coach's desk.
Rocco laid his jersey down, and then Pat Coogan followed him. It's so perfect. So I'm excited about it. And now we're going to talk about whether or not Texas has a shot at these guys. But two very Notre Dame offensive lineman kind of names are indeed in the portal.
Well, I'm not doing anything until you play the theme song.
Oh, well, that's fair too. That is fair. It is time for a meat and potatoes line of scrimmage, big ugly version of Portal Combat.
Get over here!
It's so jarring. It just comes out of nowhere.
The Willie, the get over here and the Willie at the end. It's just too good. It's too good. By the way, also speaking of new images, we do have our man, Blake, the super producer, working on a new Portal Combat where we may update you on where the guys ended up. So stay tuned for that one as well. All right, Kev.
Awesome.
Yes. So now let's go to the law firm of Coogan and Spindler and figure out what's happening.
Well, I think one of the real interesting things that happened in Notre Dame last year was that they had a couple of offensive linemen with starting experience lose their jobs in training camp and then finished off the entire year as starters. Both of these guys, Cougar and Spindler, both essentially take over in the final 13 games of the season. Coogan is a guy that started 13 games the year before at left guard. So I think he's really interesting because the only thing Texas returns in 2025 is its right guard. They feel good about left tackle. I think they're pretty optimistic about right tackle, although if they could find a badass tackle, they'd take him. I really believe that. But they do feel like Brandon Baker had, he's a 5-star guy. He's coming along. As inexperienced as he is, if that's your worst case scenario, I think Texas feels like they'll be okay. But center and left guard, I think less certainty. Coogan has started at both positions over the course of the last 2 seasons, was Notre Dame's kind of emotional heartbeat on that offensive line. The expectation, though, Chad, as a grad senior, is that he probably wouldn't win his job back if he were to return at Notre Dame. And kind of the same thing with Spindler. So both performed really well. If you go over to orangebloods.com right now, Alex just posted a deep dig on both of these guys, kind of evaluating them in a playoff game. I think it was against Indiana. Both of them just graded out really, really well in a playoff game. Texas is interested. I mentioned yesterday on the show that I could confirm that there was interest in Coogan. I believe it also exists with Spindler. I believe Cougar, though, would be the guy that would probably be, because of the positional versatility, and he probably is slightly better than the other. He's very Jake Majors-ish. If you were wondering who he is, think Jake Majors with a little bit more yelling, more demonstrative, more MFs.
I did like the video with all the swearing.
He's very much an MF. He likes to MF guys.
Yeah, I did
so
enjoy
you're getting that. But on the field, he's very Jake Majors-ish. And I think Texas would be perfectly – I think they'd feel perfectly fine next year with another – if they had another year of Jake Majors, they'd take it if they could.
Yeah, Michael points out in a chat here, Alex and Cody yesterday pointed out that PFF had Majors and Coogan rated as the 11 and 16 rated centers this year. Catch, to put a number to your point there. Coogan feels like a slam dunk replacement. Texas needs to go all in. And if you want to send us a super chat, remember you do that. It will go right to the top of the list. This does make all the sense in the world, Catch. You also gave me a buy or sell yesterday about Coogan. I'm not sure if it was about both of them. I think it was just about Coogan.
Yeah,
but
it was.
In theory here, you got – so he would be a regular portal guy, and then Spindler would be a grad transfer. Is that true?
They're both grad transfers.
They would both be grad transfers. Okay. But like you mentioned yesterday, if you put all the pieces together, a team that matters – he was just on a team that really mattered and got to the title game. He's not going to want to go all the way back to, you know what, let me just go play at Northern Illinois. They beat us and doggone it, I want to see what it's like there. He's not going to do that. So a team
that's got his degree.
He's got his degree.
The national championship game. And now, quite honestly, without the absolute certainty of him starting next season, like he's got to look out for number one.
Yeah. Plus, then, a school with some academic clout that could at least hang out in a discussion with Notre Dame.
He's not slumming it.
Not going to slum that. Plus, if you're going to get into the portal, you'd like to hear some decent numbers and have a decent discussion there. And I'm guessing guys that have experienced NIL at Notre Dame might hear the Texas discussion and go, how much? Really? Austin, how do you spell that? Austin. Oh, it's the capital? Oh, okay. I
Well,
mean,
and look, the thing is, though, Texas won't be alone. Like Texas,
yeah.
Look, he's taking Texas's phone calls, and I'm sure I would imagine everything about Texas's profile screams, I'm interested. But I've heard Michigan is a school that Texas will be competing against. They kind of check some of the same boxes. And Michigan recruited him out of high school. Now, if you're a Notre Dame guy, can you go to Michigan?
I
don't know.
I would think no.
Because that guy will think of himself as I'm an Irishman forever. That when I come back, when we do alumni day for the 2024 Notre Dame team that finished second in the country, like I don't want people booing me.
Right. For my life catch, I would say you can't go to Michigan, you can't go to USC, and just to be safe, you can't go to Florida State because they're just criminals. Those three. You can't go to any of the three.
So I'm curious, I've heard Michigan is interested. I think I actually saw it on social media last night that they were one of the first schools that were kind of raising their hand to say, yep, count us in, coach. We know that Michigan has a new surplus of NIL funding. It has to be awesome to have an alum who's a woman who loves football so much. She's able to convince the person that she's with, I better give a ton of money to the football team that my wife loves if I want to stay married to a happy woman.
Yeah, that's a badass.
It's ingenious.
Catch, if you're like the guy that sits 5 rows from the top at the big house, how happy does that make you? It's like, okay, this situation exists with this badass alum and this hot girlfriend of his, and she's really interested. So instead of, honey, I really want a car, I really want a vacation house, I really want a ring. No. I would like a center in the portal. Like, that's got to make you happy if you're a Michigan fan.
How good must the Sex have been when they pulled Bryce Underwood away from LSU?
Man.
Have you started watching Landman yet?
No, I haven't gotten to the starting line yet. I'm sorry.
There's a point where a woman asks her boyfriend to do something for her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's later on in the episodes. Like, you may even forget that I bring this up. And when it happens, you'll go, oh, it's not like massive spoiler alert.
Right. Just one of your normal
spoilers. I wouldn't consider this a spoiler at all. It's just something that happens. But in order to get him to do something, we don't even know what it is. They never say it in the show. She just whispers in his ear. We're led to believe that it is of the sexual nature. And it's like, yeah, man. Happy wife, happy life. How many times have I heard that since I've been married?
Sure.
I know how happy I am when Liverpool wins.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a fund that my wife could contribute to that guaranteed Liverpool success, thus happy husband, I'd be like, I would actually think that something was wrong if my wife wasn't doing it. Why aren't you? You know how happy this makes me, right? You don't want to give it all. Come on. So yeah, I think this is something that will move pretty fast, depending on the school. You can still get these guys in school. Like we're at. It needs to happen in the next few days, and every school is a little bit different.
Right, because for this last portal window here for Notre Dame and Ohio State, this really is going to be the 5 days, but then you can't go, more than like a week after that. They got to be in school.
Or they're going to stay at Notre Dame for the spring.
And then
show up until August.
Or you won't get them till the fall. Yeah, exactly.
But I would imagine part of their decision-making process might center around whether or not a school can get them in early or not. You know what I mean? It's like if the money's the same and the prestige is similar, but one can get you in comfortably in the spring and the other one's talking about we missed a deadline, then, I think maybe the decision takes care of itself.
Catch, as long as we're talking portal, a couple things. First off, Cotton, I know you were ashamed of this, but it made me mark it. We need to go cuckoo for Coogan. You know what? I talked
No,
about the
take a
name.
lap. That's bad. That is Cotton. I will say this: best dad line I've seen on the weekend so far.
Come on, Cotton. Cuckoo for Coogan. Well, come on. It's good. Plus, it makes me want to bowl a
Cotton
Fruit
has
Loop.
never revealed how much of a dad he is, other than to go cuckoo for Coogan.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not a Cocoa Puffs guy. That just makes me want to go have some Fruit Loops for some reason. It makes me think of cereal and cereals that I
a
like.
bowl of Cocoa Puffs.
Me either. I'm not a chocolate cereal guy.
I'm
so
not
anything in the chocolate world, I don't care about. So yeah, but it makes me think I want to go. I was thinking Crazy Bird and cereal, and then I get to Toucan Sam pretty quickly. So I was thinking Fruit Loops.
I'd like to see a Specs video that has Toucan Sam and the Specs Rabbit together.
That would be good. Yeah, maybe have them at a Michigan game. That would be exciting. So speaking of big time guys in the portal, Catch, somebody else threw this name out. Michael said rumors about Texas and Oregon going after Carnell Tate for $1 million. What about the skill side of things? What are you hearing about a couple of those receivers that Texas would have faced in the semis?
Well, it was On3 reporter Pete Nukas, who I think that's how you say his name. I apologize if I said the last name incorrectly. He is our national guy. He reported that there's a $4.5 million offer on the table for Jeremiah Smith. And that Carnell Tate is considering offers in surplus of $1 million.
Good grief.
Now, it's funny because this came up on Orange Bloods, and our guy Richard from the Rogue Shop said, I hope Texas is the one offering $4.5 million.
Right. Yeah. You hope they're the one. They're the rumor.
But, and I don't think that. I can't imagine that. But Carnell Tate for more than $1 million, that is in the Texas price range. And I could absolutely see Texas.
Yeah.
Carnell Tate as an outside guy with Ryan Wingo on the other side and DeAndre Moore, and then you start to sprinkle in Khalil Lockett and Jamie French, and I think that sounds pretty damn good. So that would not shock me. Now, I have not had a source say that about Carnell Tate to me, but I also have not asked about Carnell Tate, and quite frankly, things have gone pretty quiet just in general. So
yeah, and it's obviously it's a position we talked about. Are they going to go after one? Could it be as many as two? That would be an interesting way to go after it. And Catch, with all due respect to Texas or anybody else, when you heard Jeremiah Smith and $4.5 million, what school did you think of?
Oregon?
Yeah, that was the first thing in my head. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, Ducks.
There's been some conversation about Miami, but
could be.
You know, the thing is, because he ended up choosing, if I'm not mistaken, Ohio State over Miami.
Okay.
It could be anybody. I keep stressing that the amount of new money that will be spent this year in NIL versus what was spent a year ago in NIL, the difference is hundreds of millions when you take into account all of the schools, of which like 70 of them are major conference schools in the Power Four at this point-ish. You know, I just look at all of this, and I honestly didn't think of a school first until you just said that. Like, who did I think it would be? Because I think it could be anybody. I mentioned to you that if Arch Manning had put himself into the portal, I think somebody would offer $10 million. And who would it be? Who could it not be? It could be Georgia. It could be Texas A&M. It could be it could be Oklahoma. It could be anybody. It could be anybody.
I can tell you who that one would be. That'd be Lane Train.
It could be Ole Miss.
As soon as that messaging got out, if you heard somebody was ready to go 8 or 10 million, I bet you it'd be Oxford.
So when you say 4.5 for Jeremiah Smith and you ask me who might it be, I think ask yourself, who's desperate to win a national championship right now? Oregon's at the top of that list.
Georgia
Texas is at the top of that list.
Georgia's there.
Texas A&M's at the top of that list. Ole Miss, Tennessee.
How about Bama?
Never discount Alabama, although they also have not yet. It's strange how Alabama was the king of the bagman era, but it seems to be a pauper in the NIL era. But who knows? Maybe we know that they're going to spend 20 because that's, and I would say like 15, right? I guess at the end of the day, Alabama will probably take 75% of that money, allocate it towards football. But that's 15 on top of what they were already doing in NIL. So it could be anybody. I honestly, Chad, it's funny you would ask that question. I've mostly thought about who would be in it for Coogan. I haven't to hear Michigan. I was like, okay, well, if you're Coogan, is Michigan going to be good enough next year? Or, both will be playing it presumably. I don't even know. Do we call Arch a young quarterback anymore as he goes into his third year sophomore year? Probably not. But, I could make an argument that playing football with Bryce Underwood for a year while he's a freshman would be like playing with Jaden Daniels for a year while he's at Washington. That first year is not so bad. But the Jeremiah Smith thing, I think, could be anybody. I do think that the Carnell Tate could also be anybody, but it also kind of the usual suspects. Oregon, Texas, those schools make a lot of sense. Maybe less so Oregon because they got Evan Stewart to come back for another year. So I think they've got a little something more proven that fits the Tate profile more than Texas does, where when you look at Tate, you go, that may be exactly what they need on the other side of Wingo, presuming that Wingo starts, which is what we all think.
I was just about to ask you, as you think about, if the idea is look at what Matthew Golden became by the end of the year, and that obviously is something you need to replace. Does Carnell Tate feel like a fit for that role? That he could be the guy to come in and give you the Matthew Golden stuff, and then obviously you're going to hope that Wingo and DeAndre Moore continue to develop?
I mean, are you asking me if I think Carnell Tate can be a first or second round draft pick?
Sure.
Yes.
But most importantly, for the immediacy of it, could he make you feel good enough about that wide receiver room that you move on to other stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you added Carnell Tate, you got to keep in mind last year's wide receiver recruiting class had Wingo, and he played. I think he played more than Texas fans realized he played because he caught almost 500 yards of passes. Mm-hmm. And that's not – other than Xavier Worthy and Roy Williams, that's probably – you know what? I may look this up this weekend too. That's as good of any freshman season I can remember. Maybe B.J. Johnson back in 2000 as well. But Texas hasn't been a school that's just had a bunch of true freshmen show up and post big numbers. So I think Wingo is actually more productive than people realize over the course of an entire season, even though it wasn't consistently, it wasn't like he put 3 games together in a row where it was almost 100 yards every game. And I think people kept waiting for the light switch to go on. But I think they think he's going to be a star. I think they feel like they've got one of the best slot receivers in the SEC in DeAndre Moore. I wonder what his true upside is, but there's no question when he's healthy, he has a chance to be a game breaker. He's made big plays in big games. If you put Carnell Tate on the other side, and now you've got Jamie French, Khalil Lockett, Dalen McCutcheon all coming in along with it, I think, you move on. And if there's a scenario where a Silas Bolden presents himself and you can take advantage of that kind of market in the spring where there's a really proven wide receiver that you don't really care if they play – because I think they took Silas Bolden. And as we watch this season go on, I don't think Steve Sarkisian cared whether that guy caught 20 passes or 60 passes. If they needed someone to replace a starter, he wanted to have somebody proven as a starter there. But when you start thinking about what did they think they were going to do with Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden and Silas Bolden, given that we knew that DeAndre Moore was coming back, knowing that they did recruit Ryan Wingo, knowing that they thought, at least at this time last year, that Jonte Cook, they would have assumed, would have also been a heavy piece of the offense. Total insurance policy. And if they can find something like that, it falls into their lap, then yes. But I think if you could get a guy like Carnell Tate, I think you feel great about your receiver position with Arch Manning. And look, that's the other thing that in a conversation like this, they'll be able to sell, man. If you want to be a first-round draft pick, go catch passes from Arch Manning, because who catches passes from Arch will be studied quite a bit. You will be known. You will be a household name, potentially in a way that you're not, as long as you're on the same team with Jeremiah Smith. So I think there is a recruiting pitch that you could make to a guy like Carnell Tate that might even look, he's got a ring. Like, there are going to be some guys that are, we kind of saw this with Bear Alexander, right? He got his ring and it was like, okay, well, I don't need to stay here anymore. I did the thing that I said I wanted to do. And now I can go take the highest amount of money and not wonder, will I regret not being able to win a national championship if I stayed here my entire career? He did that. And I think not all fans will love that, but I don't really have an issue with Carnell Tate looking out for himself. And maybe the thing that he wants for himself now is different. If all he said was, I want to be the number one receiver at the school that I play at, okay, I get it. You're not going to be that at Ohio State. So if those are your aspirations, maybe you do have to go somewhere else.
And Catch, to be clear, neither of those Ohio State receivers are officially into the portal yet, correct?
That was just a report that those guys that are hearing through back channels, or maybe it's just been conveyed by the agents of those players to Ohio State. And now we're seeing somebody on the Ohio State side leak that information so that it gets out into the public sphere. Yeah, but no, they're not in the portal.
Just remember to keep your eyes peeled for tomorrow on Saturday, the 25th. We're talking on Friday here. The 25th would be the last day of that small portal after the championship game. And it's a no NFL Saturday. Championship games aren't until Sunday. It would be a perfect day. So keep an eye out for all the last bits of Notre Dame and Ohio State guys that are getting in the portal. Thank you all for the chats and super chats. If you want to throw us a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. Catch, why don't we go into the weekend informing the good folks about Rogue Shop? They've heard a lot about it, but they haven't heard enough about it. Tell them a little bit more.
Well, let's just start here, man. It's owned by Orange Bloods through and through. When I tell you that our guy Richard, who owns Rogue Shop, was on Orange Bloods as OM Ganja, posting that he wants Texas offering the $4.5 million to Jeremiah Smith. That's about as Texas fan as it gets. He also has a great product. Scan that QR code. Go shopping. Find out the thing that works for you. It might be, it might help for anxiety. It might help for pain. It might help for sleeplessness. It might just make you feel good. And who doesn't want that? It might make your pets feel good. Check it out. Scan that QR code. Go to rogueshop.com. Just go shopping. If you have any questions once you're on the site, Shar or Richard will be there to answer your questions immediately. They have the best customer service, the best product. They are your Texas home for legal CBD, THC, and more.
Catch, when you mentioned the pets for Rogue Shop, I never think of, I'm a dog guy and whatever, but I never think of like bloodhounds or bigger dogs. I think of the little ones. I think of somebody out there that's got like the most stereotypical, like a Jack Russell Terrier, a Yorkie, a Maltese. There's somebody out there, a Chihuahua. Somebody right now is nodding like, yes, Chad, they drive me insane. Check in with Rogue Shop about the pet side of it, because I'm guessing they've helped with the people with a couple of, Chihuahuas and Jack Russells over the years. Just thinking. All right. If y'all want to throw in a super chat, we can certainly get to that. Again, the big stories in the portal are really big stories because they're big Notre Dame linemen that are in the portal. Texas may be looking there. The Carnell Tate story is really interesting. If it happens, if he ends up in the portal, that's a fascinating story. And Catch, you bring up a great angle of this. This is the thing where a key difference with, like, say, NFL guys. Because if an NFL guy wins the Super Bowl and he's got 2 years on his contract, well, you got to hang out. But in college, you've been through, you go through the full grind, you win the title. Here's the other thing, Catch. Everybody that wore that silver helmet, they know what that fan base is like. I mean, they know it. They know what happened when they lost to Michigan. They know what happened when their coach got his family threatened. And I'm wondering, they're thinking like, hey, this is cool and y'all are here for the parade, but I remember what y'all did in November. I might want to get as far away from you as I can and go to another big-time program where hopefully the fans are not that crazy.
Yeah. Like there's just so many layers to this. And I think what's really interesting is that, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we did it in real connection with Notre Dame. Because I think there was some initial reaction to like, why is Notre Dame not able to keep their guys? Now, the more you dig on these situations with Coogan and Spindler, you realize, first of all, those guys probably didn't make a cent in NIL last year. And if they did, they weren't starting offensive linemen at the beginning of the year. So the expectation was that a younger player was going to take those guys' jobs. I just can't imagine that they were making half the national debt on NIL money. So these opportunities, and they are returning to a Notre Dame program that can't promise them that they'll keep their jobs in 2025. So what are they getting in NIL from Notre Dame? Probably not a lot. The Ohio State situation, and the thing about Notre Dame is they don't recruit like Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, Oregon. They really don't. So we know they'll have money to spend, but they should be able to keep their guys because they don't have a program full of Colin Simmonses and Ryan Wingos. And like they're just not stacked up. They don't have the super blue chip numbers that these other programs have. Ohio State's a different deal. And I think what's really interesting about this is they're the ones that profile the most like Texas. Mm-hmm. So a week ago when I said, hey, you know what? The dust is going to clear on this. And Texas is going to keep everybody they wanted to keep except for Amari Niblack. That's it. And we can debate how valuable Amari Niblack was this past season and what he might have been on a 2025 Texas team. But that was it.
And real quick, Catch, would you also put Sadir Mitchell in there as a total portal discussion or not?
It
would
wasn't
they have
about
wanted him?
They wanted to keep him, but I was mostly just talking about post All-Star game.
The last wave of it. Okay, gotcha.
Post bowl games.
Yeah, gotcha.
Where you've got the season has ended and now it's like it's a free-for-all.
Dudes are looking, yeah.
And it's not like dudes, this is happening at Ohio State. They've got 50 guys that want more money. They're trying to negotiate. This is what happened at Texas a week ago. And it was like dozens and dozens of meetings took place where Texas had to make sure guys were taken care of. Otherwise, they were going to end up in the portal. Texas kept everybody but Niblack. And I said, you know what? As you go into the weekend, man, if you want to celebrate and treat this like a W, you should. It's actually low-key as big as any win that Texas had all year, that they didn't just lose 3 starters to the portal because of competition and whatever. Ohio State's going through that now. And like, as much money as Ohio State has, and I've now seen 2 studies, including the Wall Street Journal just released a story in the last 24 hours that said that Ohio State is the richest, is the most. They did one of those things where they add up if the program were going to be for sale, like a professional sports club, based on revenue and all of the things that would go into how you decide how much a pro franchise is worth. This guy said that Ohio State was like 1.98 and Texas was 1.92. And then everybody else kind of falls off a cliff. To give you an extent, you could add up the value of Oklahoma and A&M together, and it was basically the value of Texas. But Ohio's like, I bring this up because Ohio State is that valuable, and they've got this amount of money, and yet, believe me, it will hurt while they're negotiating with all of these guys. And the other thing is, all of these guys know what these guys are being offered. So if you're trying to negotiate with Carnell Tate and you've got players at other positions that think, well, I'm at least as good as Carnell Tate is. I'm not the number 2 linebacker. So give me my mill. If you're gonna pay Carnell Tate a mill, I want a mill. And Texas dealt with that last week. It will be interesting to see. Like, my guess is, given what Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are reportedly being offered, if Ohio State's able to match that, they're probably going to, I bet it's $10 million more than Texas had to lay out last week. So, I'm waiting with bated breath to kind of see how this unfolds, because I assume that Ohio State will take care of their business. But anybody that thinks it's as simple as, well, Ohio State will just, they've never run a company before. They don't, you don't look at your bank account during weeks when you're depositing checks to see, like, for those guys to make that kind of money is program changing in more than one way of just giving those guys that amount of money. Because if you're Miami and you want to offer Jeremiah Smith $4.5 million, you can look everybody in the eye in the program and say, you guys aren't Jeremiah Smith. Like, don't ask to get paid like Jeremiah Smith. None of you guys are like Jeremiah Smith. But you know what? At Ohio State, they get dudes like Jeremiah Smith on the regular. And if 4.5 is what you get for Jeremiah Smith, if you're Ohio State, you're going to pay 4.5 for every metaphorical Jeremiah Smith that ever comes through your program again. And these are the decisions that they have to make. Do we match? Do we tell this guy, we don't really think you're going to get $4.5 million? We'll pay you $2.5 million. And if you think there's $4.5 million to go be had, you think you can get that, then go get it. Do you draw lines in the sand because you feel like we can't just be willy-nilly every time this happens? Otherwise, we're going to have $100 million team at some point pretty quickly. And that's a bit much. That we can't do. I don't know. But I'm fascinated by it because it's Ohio State. And if it can happen to Ohio State moving forward, we just all need to be prepared for the fact that when it does happen to Texas at some point, realize, hey, man, it happened to Ohio State, and they're the richest program in the country right now, according to the Wall Street Journal and a couple of different studies that I've seen that have done these type of evaluations in the last 60 days.
All right, here's what we're going to do. I got a couple chats that I like, but we got no super chats. So we're going to give you about a minute while you watch the AV consultation spot to think about what you want to talk about. You throw something in the tip jar in this next minute, and we will get right to it. Otherwise, we'll jump into those chats, and we'll keep talking about what we want to talk about. So there's your challenge. Here's AV consultations.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations. We've been providing custom electronic systems for Central Texas for more than 36 years. And
Old man, I think they all know who you are and what your company does. This is Camilla McKay. The old man believes in big fun and big ideas. He can make dreams come true, so why not dream big? I've been up in Boston, but I know the old man and all his friends and fellow radio heads have been spreading the holiday spirit here in Texas. Why should we stop there? Keep spreading the good feelings all over. Audiovisual Consultations carries all major brands of televisions and stereo equipment at prices you can't find in stores. And you don't have to leave your house. Just like Santa, they deliver the gifts to you.
yeah, I like that, kid. Throw a party, hang out with your friends, catch a concert.
That's all fun and good, but can we get back to the business? You can give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit our website at avconsultations.com for some cool electronics.
Oh, now you're forgetting something.
And as always, hug your kids. We only pretend to be annoyed. Watch some games with
All righty, let's jump right in with some chats here. First off, I do agree with Cotton. Can you imagine Jeremiah Smith and Arch? Holy mackerel is right. Yes.
Well, can I ask you a question, Chad?
Yeah.
Should Texas be involved with Jeremiah Smith at that number?
Whew. I think it depends on. I mean, my first gut would be no, but it just depends on a couple of different factors. Like if you feel like this is a big crossroads moment to really grab a hold of the sword, pull it out of the sheath, and beat Texas about as bad as you could beat Texas, maybe. I mean, if you can spend it, if you got it, feel confident about it, and you think, man, and you're thinking what that chatter was thinking. Wait a minute, Arch, throw into that guy plus Wingo plus more. You know, you do if you, but 4-5 is. Again, I don't know.
If Texas had Jeremiah Smith, they would, without question, nobody would care about anything else. They'd be the preseason number one.
It would be silly, and you would have to take him away from a national champion. Again, that we talked about that when the Ryan Williams rumors kind of started floating out there, and it's probably Jeremiah's people that are doing this. It's Carnell Tate's people that are doing this, trying to drive the money up and the interest up. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to do it, you could do it. But from what you have discussed and we have discussed, I'm not quite sure Texas is ready to hit that button right now.
I mean, I don't think they would be.
I mean, that feels like a lot.
It does not sound like the type of thing that they would do given the conversations that I've had.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they have locked in commitments to cover all of the commitments that they've made. I think that's a big part of, like, look, most of these new deals
to cover the retention we've already talked about, right?
Most of that money, if I'm not mistaken, is not due until later in the year. Again, I can remember last August as guys were reporting to camp, and so they were kind of officially on the team. You know what I mean? It's
right.
You don't want to give a guy $250,000 and then he can transfer out in May. So you set these contracts up where the payments are after guys show up and so they've got time. But I don't think that they've got, I would be shocked. If somebody would have told me, I think, like, hey, we're good. Big Daddy Warbucks. McConaughey decided to give us $20 million. We're good. We're good. Right. All right. We're going after Jeremiah Smith with Matthew's money. I think that would have gotten out.
Yeah. By the way, this chat is interesting. Buy or sell stealing Smith from Ohio State would be on a similar level to another team stealing Arch from Texas. It's not that big to me. I'd sell that. It's not quite that big. Arch would be bigger.
It's true. Arch would be bigger, but after Arch, you may be right.
It's right there. Yeah. Wags, you are right in that area. But it's just, we're talking about starting quarterback of that kind of ilk. No, not quite that big. Catch, I wanted you to answer this one real quick. Back to the portal offensive line stuff. Overweight Lover, great name, says, what offensive lineman would jump in the portal in the spring if they fear they aren't going to start this year, Catch? So I guess we're playing it out. Let's say one or both of these Notre Dame guys ends up in burnt orange. Offensive lineman that you think might jump into the portal in the spring.
Oh, I don't know. How the hell would I know?
Yeah, Overweight Lover. How would he know?
I mean, what offensive lineman would jump into the portal in the spring? I don't know. I didn't know these guys had these situations until yesterday. Like, yeah. I have not studied, but I will tell you this. This is what Texas needs to know. These are questions that Texas should know every single grad transfer.
Now, you realize Overweight Lover is asking about Texas. Overweight Lover is saying if Notre Dame guys come in, who might go out? How do you know
that that's about Texas?
That is the way I'm interpreting it. What offensive lineman would
jump in the portal in the spring if they fear they aren't going to start this year? We're talking about Texas specifically. I think all of them are candidates if they're not project. Let me put it to you like this. I think every offensive lineman not in the program that's not projected to start this year. So Gooseby, Campbell, Baker, we would probably say Hudson and probably say NATO, but if they bring in a guy like Coogan and you're Cole Hudson, and then they want you to fight it out for Neto for a starting job. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think both of those guys would think about it. Because
think about the fight or leaving.
Both. But I'm talking about leaving. I think,
right.
I think as you're getting ready to go in, and these guys don't have COVID years. Cole Hudson didn't redshirt. Cole Hudson has a redshirt year. So he could start the season, get hurt for the entire year, and still come back and have another year. But he has played 3 seasons. There's no COVID year. So this is it for him. So those guys, and I think any of the young offensive linemen that aren't at a level where they're competing for a starting job, those guys are always candidates. So here, let me pull up the scholarship board. We're talking about Texas offensive linemen that you would be worried. I mean, Malik Agbo would be one for me. Like, that guy's about to be a redshirt junior, and I don't know what the hell he's doing. Neto, Connor Robertson. If Coogan comes in to be the starting center, is Connor Robertson? And Connor Robertson might say, "Look, man, I'm good. I'm from Austin. I'll keep battling it out. I could be the starting center next year because I'm only a junior." You start looking at the Connor Strohs of the world and the Jaden Chapmans of the world and the Andre Kojos of the world. Those dudes at some point are getting ready to go into, let me put it like this. Kojo, Chapman, Stroh, they're all getting ready to enter their redshirt sophomore years. That's year 3. Those dudes aren't really competing for starting jobs. So all of those guys are candidates, I would think, in the modern NIL era. Anybody that's not within a 10-foot pole of starting is someone that you would have to look at. So overweight, I mean, seriously, just look at the scholarship board. The names jump out, I promise.
Yeah. Also, this one real quick, just an idea from Vivek. Can't NIL deals now be 2 years so players can't leave after just a year and renegotiate? Why haven't programs done that? I'm sure they've tried. Maybe. I don't know. Anybody trying 2-year deals, Catch, or are they still keeping it a year by year?
Most of these are year by year, but I think Texas does 2-year deals. I did not hear that Malik Muhammad made less this year than he made the year before. Every guy's situation is different, Vivek.
Yeah.
Sometimes these schools don't want 2-year deals. Look, Texas paid Brandon Baker like a 5-star. I don't know that they got out of him in year 1. And I'm just apple to apple. Like, do they think Brandon Baker as an offensive tackle is the same as Colin Simmons? No, not now. But I think they were compensated coming out of high school pretty similarly. Brandon Baker's not having to renegotiate. So most of these guys are on deals. Like Bryce Underwood has a guarantee of 3 years. So every situation is a little bit different. But, most thing is, Vivek, most states are right to work states. So if you wanted to enforce a 2-year, if somebody wanted out of a deal because they had a better deal, trying to enforce that contract just in the state of Texas would be very difficult. You could make life hard, right? You could file a lawsuit, at which point, look, I'll give you a story. I had a guy that worked for me at Orange Bloods. This is years ago, more than a decade ago. But I had him under contract. Matter of fact, I had renegotiated this guy's contract 3 times in a year to pay him more money. There was a no compete in the deal. No competes in Texas are basically worthless because Texas is a right to work state. And believe me, the first time I heard that from a lawyer, I was like, well, what the hell? You mean I can't put anything in there? And they're like, you can try, but Texas is a right to work state. So it's going to be real hard to find a judge that's going to tell somebody that's going to tell me you can keep this guy from working and providing for his family. No, you can't. But what I did was I sued. I fought it for like a couple of months, just to get through National Signing Day. But like, there wasn't much else I could do. I think I was able to keep him from working at a new website for like 45 days-ish. But my lawyer would tell me, like, look, there's not a whole lot you can do. I did the best I could, I think. And the other thing is, these schools don't want to be suing athletes. Like, that's not who you want to be. It's just like if you're an employee at an office and you tell on a boss. You know what I mean? Like, it's if you turn in people, even if they've done bad things, there is a little bit of a stigma. It's like, oh man, well, if you bring that person in, their experiences, they might turn you in. Like, what does that mean? Like, it's life's complicated. And I just think that there are players on the Texas team that have those type of arrangements, but all of the leverage is really in the hands of the players. Because if Brandon Baker wants to sit tight, he'll make his money. And like, if Texas changes anything, he'll just go tell people that Texas didn't take up its end of the bargain. And like, that's what Texas has prided itself on. So you don't want to do anything where it's like, oh, we kicked this guy to the curb. We broke our promise. But you don't also want to be the school. Hey, you know what we're known for? Suing players. Mm-hmm. Why? Because he wanted to leave. Good luck with that. So,
yeah.
You know, it's way more complicated than I think we often think the way this should be situated. It is. And someone said this earlier today, Chad, you know, this sucks because there's no rules. And it's like, well, no, that's the thing. There are rules. Like, they keep going to court and courts keep on establishing rules. You know what it is? They're just rules that colleges don't like and fans might not like. But
coaches
the
don't like.
There are rules. You know what they call the rules? The law. And the problem that the NCAA and these colleges have is that every time they go to court, the courts tell them, you know what you're describing is against the law. So we do not find in favor of you. You're screwed. And like, so what is the NCAA doing? They don't want to go to court anymore. So what happens when a guy goes, you know what? I'm transferring. Did you enter the portal? Nope. I'm just going to transfer. Hey, NCAA, did you have a comment on that? Well, we're really not enforcing transfers if they're outside of the portal.
Yeah. Think about what that did. That opened every gate. Every gate that you thought was a gate ain't even a gate anymore.
But why did the NCAA say that? There are no rules. There are rules. There are. It's called the law. And we can't begrudge these athletes because the courts keep on telling ourselves and saying out loud into the, like, whoever will listen. Sure would be awesome if college athletics could be like this. If they did this, there should be a salary cap. Okay. Again, it's against the law. You have to, here's what you have to do. You have to make them employees and like negotiate. They almost treat them as a union. Like, there are things that have to happen in order for the things you want to happen. And the colleges and the universities and the people in charge, they don't want that to happen. They're still doing everything they can to not call these athletes employees. They're trying. They're failing. They're headed that way, but they're still trying.
By the way, Catch, before we get done, I want to talk to you about a couple things I've read that are being discussed when it comes to stuff moving forward, specifically like portal stuff and NIL stuff moving forward. We'll do that. We got buy or sell coming up. If you guys want to throw in a super chat, we can get to that. Also, I want to tell everybody about a great moment that I had last night. My wife comes to me and says, we got friends that want to go out.
Careful, Chad. Careful.
The Sacamanos want to get together with us and have like a couples outing. They got kids that are in college now. They're empty nest. They're looking for stuff to do. So y'all know what I did. I said, Hayes City Store. That's what I said. Y'all want to go out? Y'all want to do something? Let's go back to Hayes City Store. We've taken them there. They know how great it is. Plus now we can go see these beautiful new screens. We can go see that great back that they've put on the ice house, but they've still got the great views of those beautiful shade trees. If it's a little cold, they've got heaters. If it gets a little hot, they've got the misters. It's just one of the best food and drink experiences you will ever have. And when the friends called and my wife says, hey, they want to get together and, go hang out, I thought, well, let's go Hayes City Store. Then we'll go hit Wimberley and walk around the shops there a little bit. And then, we'll see what happens after that. Hayes City Store, by the way, you know what I'm going to get at Hayes City Store? I think I'm going to do pork chop. I've been craving it. I've been thinking about it. They've got the grilled pork chop. They've got the blackened pork chop. And they've got the chicken fried pork chop. And you can't go wrong with any of them. Check out Hayes City Store. We are happy that they are one of our partners here. And trust me, you will have a good time. Go out there alone. Go out there with friends. Go out there. Whatever you do, just get out there at some point. See, you were trying to make that nasty, Catch. That wasn't
I thought
nasty.
y'all were going to.
It was about food. It was about food.
It sounded like they were asking if you guys wanted to swing.
Hey, look,
And
we've
then
tried
you
to
said, let's go to Hayes City Store.
we tried for 10 years to get them to swing. We still haven't gotten that achieved, but they do like Hayes City Store. So that we know.
That was funny. That was
all
go
right.
Back and I don't know. Was that what you were going for? Like, you gotta go back and listen to that. It was fantastic.
Yes. Well, you never know. I've been told I can unintentionally get to that stuff. So maybe a little of each. All right. If y'all want to jump back in. And look at this. Trace agrees. Trace knows. Hayes City Store rules.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Hey, man. Why?
Yes, it does.
I want to go with you to Hayes City Store. So
it's so good. So good.
I didn't know if you turn that into some code.
Worried Chad was sharing. Let me tell y'all what happened in the bedroom last night. No. It did actually happen in the bedroom.
I'm just saying, when I first heard that, it was like, I had a great night last night. Wendy came into the bedroom. I was like, whoa, okay.
I was actually sitting on the bed and she was at the bathroom sink, if everybody really wants to know exactly where everybody was.
That's how it often starts, Chad.
Sometimes that's how it happens. You just never know. All right, Catch, are you ready to...
Last time something happened in our bedroom, it started with me sitting on the edge of the bed and she was at the bathroom sink.
See, there you go. Are you ready for a little buy or sell on a Friday?
I am.
All right, first or
You
second?
go first. I'm second today.
All right. Just remember, at some point in this buy or sell, Catch, not knowing the answer can actually make you the winner and not the loser. We'll get to that. But first, buy or sell number one, Texas will get one of the Notre Dame offensive linemen, not both.
I'm going to sell.
Okay.
And say they don't get either.
Okay.
Just because it feels like the mathematical likelihood / probability would be on everybody else in the country versus Texas. I don't know how silly this is. That's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. And I don't want it to come across like I'm promising that I think Texas is in it. I think they'll be competitive. I totally think they could be in it with Cardell Tate as well. Like, it makes sense. But I haven't had anybody express that type of confident vibe yet. And I tend to err on the side of caution if that hasn't happened.
Fair enough. All right, Catch, let's go to Sunday. Buy or sell number 2, championship game picks, Kansas City and Washington. I'm looking for the PC Super Bowl.
Sell. I think it'll be Kansas City and Philadelphia.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that as well. Staying in the NFL, Catch, buy or sell number 3, Pete Carroll to the Raiders. They'll make the playoffs with him at least once.
Oh, buy. Pete Carroll's – look, Pete Carroll could turn me back around to the Cowboys. If they hired Pete Carroll, I would have been like, oh, that's a real hire.
Yeah.
Do I care that he's 103? Not really. He's Pete Carroll. 103 is the new 53.
Plus, Catch, just like kind of with the John Gruden feel in Vegas, you're sending a personality like that to Vegas that's got some, he's got skins on the wall.
The other thing I Pete Carroll is teaching a class at USC this semester called Game is Life.
Is that right?
He's going to continue to teach the class while he's the head coach of the Raiders.
Love it. Love it. It's an interesting idea.
Carroll, man. Pete Carroll's good people.
Yeah, that's going to draw people to Vegas too. All right, Catch, here it is. Buy or sell number 4. Happy birthday to the Honky Tonk Man. He turns 72 tomorrow.
He's alive?
He is alive. Happy
God bless him.
And by the way, a cousin of Jerry the King Lawler. I never knew that. He has the second longest Intercontinental Championship run of all time. You can tell me the current superstar that holds the record.
Man, I heard this on WrestleMania.
Let's see how nerdy Catch is. How much is he following wrestling at his age? Let's find out.
Can I ask for a clue? I have a specific question. You can either decline or not decline.
Yeah, sure.
Was the Intercontinental reign older than, did it end within the last 2 years?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it happened recently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Oh, see there, you're the winner. Ultimately, you can sell that. You can say, I'm a mature adult, Chad. Why would I know something like that? The answer is Gunther.
Gunther.
See, there you go. Well done.
You could have given me 100 guesses. I wouldn't have guessed Gunther.
Now I make you feel more normal. Honky went 454, and the new record is 600.
Do we call him Honky? Is that what the cool kids call him?
That's what I just call. That's actually what's his name? That's what Jimmy Hart calls him. I think he used to call him Honky.
Well, then why would you be the Honky Tonk Man? Why wouldn't you just be the Honky Man?
No, it's like a second reference. I should have. I already referenced.
Like the more appropriate nickname would be Tonker.
The old Tonker. All right, there you go. The Tonker went 454.
Yes.
Gunther went 666 on his IC run.
I'm just not calling that man Honky. I'm just not.
And Catch, we are not leaving the world of professional wrestling. Buy or sell number 5. I'm going to SmackDown tonight at the Moody Center. If 10-year-old Catch was going, he'd have a championship belt with him, maybe 2.
Okay, look. I can remember being in the 5th grade in the Boy Scouts and going to a Boy Scout meeting. And I had a batting glove on like it was the Michael Jackson glove. So I'm going to say that if in the 5th grade, I was going to Boy Scout meetings with baseball gloves on, pretending they were Michael Jackson gloves, that I would have a championship belt around me at SmackDown. Yes.
Okay, so Catch, I'm going tonight with Rick and his youngest, who's a big wrestling fan. The last time we went to wrestling with this kid, he wore the Intercontinental Championship into the building. He's now in college, so I'm wondering, do you still do that as a freshman in college?
I didn't know that the Intercontinental belt was cool enough.
Dude,
he's not even wear it.
I know. He's into the old school IC belt, like the one that Honky Tonk and Randy and Shawn Michaels and everybody's coming up winning it.
I was going to guess Randy Orton was my guess.
Catch, it'll freak you out how many people walk into those things now with belts. Full-grown men and women with championship. And some have 2. Some are wearing one, and there's one on the shoulder.
You know what doesn't surprise me? The first year that Anwar was in our fantasy draft, he brought 3 championship belts to the draft.
That's crazy.
Now, I acted like a psycho that year because I did not want him to win year 1 of our fantasy league.
Right.
But I feel like full context is important. If somebody shows up at your draft having never been in the league before with 3 belts, he can win a belt eventually, but he can't win year 1. So Did I put voodoo curses on him? Yes. Did I try to curse his team every week? Yes. Did his team win the league? No. Did I accomplish my goal? Yes. Did he not play next year in the fantasy league? Yes. Did he ultimately return back to the fantasy league? Yes.
There you have it. So if you're at the Moody Center tonight and you see me, say hello. I will not have a belt. I'll just be the old man wearing an Undertaker shirt tonight at the Moody Center. All right, Cats, that's my 5. What do you got?
Buyer sell number 1. You will be one of those wearing a belt to the Moody Center tonight.
Sell. Do I own? Is this boundary? Do I own one of those championship belts? Yes. But do I ever think to myself, I'm going to take it to an event? No. I've taken it to a Halloween. It's somewhat nearby. Yeah, it would take me a minute to get to it.
Okay.
But
it's hanging up where you can see it right now?
Actually, there's a couple things blocking it, but it's displayed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've taken it to a Halloween party because I was trying to be a wrestler for Halloween. But I've never.
That's fair.
But I have never thought I'm just going to take it to the arena with me and I'm going to show it to Roman Reigns. He's going to think that's awesome. No, I've never thought of that ever. But people do it, man. There's so many. They're much easier to get.
You have to take pictures. I want pictures, man.
They're much cooler now. Trust me. If my man Colin shows up tonight in an IC belt, I'll take a picture of him in it. I'll send it to you.
Look. The thing is, I can't say what I want to say. But every time I've gone to a wrestling event in Austin, I've probably gone to about a half dozen of them in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
There's a profile of a certain kind of guy that when you know him, you can spot him in every section of every wrestling crowd.
Mm-hmm. And
he is always wild and out. And I would love for you to just somehow take a picture of tonight's wild and out. That's the craziest guy in the section guy. Like and I'm not going to say anything else, but I feel like I can see him in my brain, and there's no doubt in my mind they will match up.
I'll see if I can find that. And by the way, Gonzo, I am not going in Yeet sunglasses. No. I do not own the Jey Uso Yeet sunglasses. I will not be wearing those tonight.
My son, I don't think knows who that is, but he says Yeet. And it kind of drives me crazy when he does. It's like, don't say Yeet. I don't like that guy in the WWE. Because
it's old now, right? Yeet apparently, according to my child at least, that has long passed.
My kid's 10. What does he know about trends?
Do your kids say Yeet?
My son does. Hendrix has said, I haven't heard him say it in a while, but I have heard him say Yeet. And I'm like, where did you get that from?
I'm telling you.
You didn't get that from me. I'd have never said Yeet.
It just pops up.
Who's the Yeet guy?
Jey Uso.
Okay.
Yeah, Jey Uso is that guy. Real quick.
Well, let me say this.
Yeah.
I hate Yeet, but I love Yeah.
You like LA Knight?
I don't know why. I hate one. The other one I love. It cracks me up. He's my favorite. Yeah. I should answer every buy or sell question. It should be yeah or sell.
Yeah or sell. Oh my God. All right. I'm sorry. That was just one. That was just one of your buy or sells. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm in the middle of mine. Buy or sell number 2. You'll be at the Moody tomorrow for Texas and Texas A&M.
Sell. I am not going to be there for that one. No, I'll be. I'll check it out. I'll watch on TV, but I'm not going to go to the game now.
Buy or sell number 3. The most interesting part of the Orange Bloods War Room last night was Anwar's offseason notes and not Jason's Junior Day preview. Because you told me this morning you read the War Room, so I'm curious.
Yeah. No, I did. I'm trying to. That's an interesting kind of battle because I thought both. If you're a fan, they both are really interesting. I'm gonna.
If I didn't think it was a good battle, I wouldn't have asked the question.
Yeah, I'm gonna slightly buy that one, Catch, and something about sometimes those old, just the same old kind of generic themes we talk about. Sometimes they're just that, and then every once in a while, there's a note that makes me go, huh. Kind of makes me Scooby-Doo it. Huh? And Anwar mentioning the leadership of Gooseby. That stopped me.
The list of names in general, I thought was interesting to go, okay.
that DeAndre Moore was on that list, and but the Gooseby thing stopped me. So I'm going to say that was slightly more interesting than the Junior Day list. But Texas fans, go check out the Junior Day list because there are some dogs coming in this weekend.
Buy or sell number 4. I'll ask you the same question. I'll just ask it slightly different. You'll take Bills and Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Oh man, I would love
because it could be Bills and Eagles.
Oh, it definitely could. There's a part of me, Catch, that wants Kansas City not to win 3 in a row and not to win a 5th Super Bowl. That part of me is just the petty Cowboys fan part of me. So that would help that. And then I could root full blast against the Eagles in the Super Bowl in that case. But I'm going to sell. I'm with you. I think it's Kansas City and Philly until proven wrong. I think Daniels and Washington will make it close. I think the Bills will make it close. But I think the Chiefs and the Eagles are gonna match up again in the Super Bowl.
And finally, every once in a while, my brain just gets a little effed up, and I think it's something totally bizarre. And and I maybe this isn't bizarre, but maybe the majority of the audience won't even have an answer to this. But I'm going Little House on the Prairie hotter than.
Oh wow, here we go.
In their primes, you can pick. Because the girls grew up and were older in the show. So, prime on prime. Melissa Gilbert hotter than Melissa Sue Anderson. Laura hotter than Mary.
Just actresses or characters?
It's prime on prime.
Either way, whatever we want.
However you want to answer that question.
You said Gilbert first, right? You said Gilbert hotter than?
I did. Melissa Gilbert hotter than Melissa Sue Anderson, who played Mary Ingalls.
I am going to have to buy. I'm a half pint guy. I am.
Me too.
And I think it was also because I would have to look it up. I think Melissa Gilbert and I are closer in age than Melissa Sue. Melissa Sue Anderson always felt like the older woman.
I always felt like she was my peer.
I always felt like the older sister was a little bit not out of my league, just kind of out of, but I always felt like I was the same age as Gilbert. And even though I do have a thing for plenty of older women, for some reason Mary wasn't one of them. But as she grew up and we got to see her come out of those pigtails and turn into like a woman, then I'm really team half pint. So I'm going to buy Melissa Gilbert every time.
I'm with you.
Yeah, hell of a show. I love that you're a Little House on the Prairie guy. Like there's something so wonderfully folksy about the fact that you go back to like Little House on the Prairie. It's awesome. That is so good.
Can I make a confession?
Sure.
Caroline was kind of a hottie.
Now
that I'm a full grown man.
Very pretty. Very pretty.
I'm like, Michael, way to go, Paul.
And there were a couple episodes, way to go, Paul. There were a couple episodes because she always had the hair tied up.
Yeah.
Remember? It was always tied up frontier style. Every once in a while, she'd be like about to go to bed, combing out the hair, and you get to see it long. And like the girls,
I know Charles is about to hit.
And the girls would be asking for advice or about to go to bed, or Charles was about to go out to the barn to do something. And
Charles was about to go out to the barn and do something, all right.
And you were out there and it was like, whoa, come on now. Yeah, you're right. You are right.
Them girls, don't y'all come down from the loft.
All right, Catch.
Mom and Dad are having a talk.
Catch, our man Jay threw us something yesterday, but he meant it for you. So he's paid an additional $2. Thank you, Jay. Says, Chad, my prime on prime was for Catch yesterday. Catch, here it was. Prime on prime, Brooke Burke versus Carmen Electra. Brooke Burke. This is the way he didn't even phrase it as a hotter than. He just said prime on prime, Burke or Electra.
I'm going to go Electra. And there's a small window of time before Carmen Electra became a caricature of herself, where it was like she was literally became a character. But before she became Dennis Rodman Squeeze, I think that there was a prime where she was as hot as any woman on earth.
Yeah, but I love this battle because, like I said yesterday, at any given moment, you could argue that this is the hottest brunette on earth. Either way.
Yeah.
I mean, these two in their like right now, Brooke Burke's a little older, and I don't think I've ever wanted to buy Skechers shoes more than right now. Like, dude, when Brooke Burke starts telling, I mean, like, oh, you know what, Brooke, that is a pretty sharp looking shoe. Very nice. All right.
We did also have another super chat. I see.
Yeah, we did. Tracy with a $9.99. Typically, there is a race that dominates other races on the football field. Do you consider there to be a dominating race in the O-line? If so, what race do you consider more dominant than the others?
I don't look at race on the offensive line at all. But, you know, man, like I'd be lying if I said if I saw a white running back, I don't go. But I feel like that's becoming less and less of a thing, Tracy. But, yeah, no, I honestly, I don't think there's a dominating race on the offensive line. And it's never, I've never, ever one time been like, oh, you know who's a 5-star? Leonard Davis. Why? He's black. Like, I haven't done that. So, like, with the offensive line, it's never crossed my mind. I don't think about that with quarterbacks. You know, it's usually, you know, I'll admit to doing a little bit of a double take if we're talking about wide receivers or corners or running backs. But again, then you see like Christian McCaffrey and you're like, okay, well, he's dope. Maybe I need to retire that.
I'm so glad you started answering that one first because I seriously thought he was talking about position battles. I really did. When he said race, I thought he just meant like the race for a position. So I'm so glad you interpreted it correctly and answered that question. Tracy, thank you for that $9.99 super chat. Because now that you're
might wonder whether or not I would answer anything for $9.99. There you go.
Yeah. How about this one, Catch? S. Roan for $5. Catch, say Liverpool wins the Champions League and the Premier League. What do you do? Laugh, cry, and then a bunch of red boxes for the Liverpool squad.
Man, I'm a crier, but I'm not a sports crier. I've never cried because of sports, but I've felt overwhelmed to the point of like that the Michael Jordan emotion when he wins the first championship and he just kind of like needs a moment to himself, and you just kind of like you're just soaking it all in a real joyous way. I don't know.
But you don't cry like positive or negative. You don't cry.
I am a crier, but I don't do. I don't.
So for
Like,
sports,
let me give you an example. I can listen to "Imagine" by John Lennon, and if my kids are in the back seat, like I can cry.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never cried because of sports.
Okay, so if Liverpool
Not
wins,
since I was a kid. I used to cry when the Cowboys lost when I was young, like young.
Okay. All right. But right now, if Liverpool wins a huge championship on penalty kicks or loses a huge championship on penalty kicks, neither would make you cry.
I mean, my smile would be ear to ear.
Yeah, right.
But does it make me laugh? That wouldn't say that.
Yeah, that's probably.
It's an amazing dopamine hit, and I'm buzzing. It is like taking a drug. But I don't laugh or cry. But I'm really happy.
I like this one from S. Roan. I cried after beating Alabama in 2023.
I don't judge anybody. I said, I'm a crier. I'll cry at all sorts of things. I've just never. Back in when I would say anything under the age of like 18, losing could get me to cry. I think my most infamous cry when losing is I was on the 7th grade B team basketball team at Grisham.
Mm-hmm. By
the way, shout out to Jeff Bowerman from Groggy Dog. He would have been in the 8th grade A team, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. He could hoop back in the day. He and his twin brother, Brad. And shout out to Brad if he's watching. We went to the Hill Country Middle School basketball tournament. And Grisham we were always really good at basketball. We were very middling in football back in the day, but Grisham's basketball teams were dope. And but we lost in the championship game So I was on the B team and I traveled, which meant like I was like the 17th guy on the team, not in the 12. I was like 5 tag-alongs. But when we lost the tournament, I cried. And I'll never forget being on the bus coming back when one of the guys on the team that did play looked at me and was like, why are you crying? You didn't even play. And I have never forgotten that call out. And so I at least made sure moving forward that any game I was ever in, I at least participated in. Because I got
probably a good rule
in the 7th grade by a 7th grade A team basketball player who felt like the B team. I think I would have gotten a medal. So it was like I was on the team, but
yeah,
what can I say, man? Like I'm emotionally involved.
That is fair. And once again, Matt, that's just mean. There's no need to throw stuff like that out. Come on now.
Matt, that's fucked up, man.
That is really messed up. Jared says, I cried when the Rangers finally won it. A lot. I didn't cry, Jared, but I could understand it. I'm not going to make fun of you for crying. That was
it's healthy. Long time. Like there's nothing bad about being moved. Like all emotions can be healthy. I mean,
yeah, that was a long time coming.
Can be a healthy emotion if harnessed correctly. So, don't be afraid if you cry. Like I certainly am not judging it. I'm just saying for myself, I'd tell you if I'd cry. I just told you I cried in the 7th grade. I'll tell you if I cry at 48. You ever listen to music and cry?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. The music gets me.
It is weird, the stuff that'll get you. Like I'm not a flow crier. I don't like cry all the but I get emotional. I get choked up. And my daughter and wife will make fun of me for the moment, because I'll admit it, the weird moments when it happens. And it's, some songs will do it. And then I'll tell you the song and you'd be like, that's the song? It's like, yeah, but it connected me back to a moment and it made me think about it. There's no rhyme or reason to why it happens sometimes, but it does happen.
I will tell you one that almost got me this week.
Okay.
My daughter wanted to hear some music. She was having a bad morning. And so she was like, but as I was driving her to school, she wanted to listen to music, which means I can usually sneak in like 2 songs, right? Just the drive from the house to the elementary school. It's not a big drive.
Right. And by the way, before we make Matt a demon, he just meant Jerry doesn't control the team anymore. He wasn't trying to kill Jerry.
Oh, that's not what you said.
Just to be clear, he said Jerry's gone. He meant from the office.
Well, it ain't ever going to be gone until he dies.
Well, I know, but Matt, he's hoping. Matt was hoping. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what I was going to say? When it does happen, it'll be hard as now. Look, I am not turning in my Cowboy fan card.
Okay,
but I am going to stop caring, and I don't know what will ever get me reconnected again.
I already thought that you had. We're going to have to discuss this as we get into the season about exactly where you are right now. Because I thought we had
like this. On a big Sunday, the TV might just go on the Red Zone channel.
Right. I got you. Oh, Lord, I've been there for a while. I mean, if there are more important games on, I wasn't even watching when Washington finished off that game this year because there were more important games to be watching.
Well, I'm a start to finish guy all the time.
I got you. Okay. I see where you are now. We just need to pull you even more into the realistic world of Cowboy fandom.
I feel like I've been the most realistic. I'm just saying from a commitment standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm fully all the way. Like, let me put it to you like this. I could probably give a fuck about a preseason game. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't care what the roster is going to look like. I'll pay attention to the draft, but like I'm just done. I am removing myself. Jerry doesn't care. Jerry does not care. Jerry doesn't care as much as I care.
This is a good one from Patrick. I almost cried at the Cotton Bowl when singing The Eyes of Texas at the end. Patrick, I totally get that kind of an idea, especially after a big win like that, after a big moment. Like, I guess that would be after the loss.
Let me finish my story real quick.
That's after the loss. So there's a little sadness there, but I totally get it with the school song stuff. I totally get that.
I'm taking the kids to school. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think about who I should play for my 2 songs that I think Haven will like.
Uh-huh.
And I pull up my Tony List playlist. And I played Hey as the warm-up act. because it's upbeat. It's, you know what song I'm talking about? It's a
don't.
very upbeat. It's a fast Tony Price song as opposed to a bluesy.
Oh, Tony Price. Okay, you said
Tony
Tony.
Price.
I thought you meant like Tony award-winning song.
Tony Price.
Tony Price. Okay.
And after I played that, I played West Texas Lullaby, which is a song that I sang to them when they were in the NICU and when they were babies.
Oh, geez.
So I play it, and my daughter's 10 now. And she just reached for the volume when I had it at like 8. So you could hear it, but it wasn't overwhelming. And she cranked it to like 15 and then was singing the song. And Tony Price just recently died. So I was thinking about like, God, you know, I wonder what Tony Price would say about a 10-year-old today singing that song that she made 30 years ago. You know, like, I wonder what she would have said. And like, it just got me emotional. And I didn't like bawl or anything, but like I was choking up a little bit. And I'm like looking in the rearview mirror and like Haven singing the song. And like at one point she's like, "What's wrong, Dad?" And I was like, "Oh," I had to get myself together because then it was drop off time. And I didn't want the women opening up the doors at drop off time to be like, "What's up with your dad crying in the car?"
Right. See, Catch, that one has a totally logical explanation to it. Like that is a perfect logical explanation to why it happens. What I can't explain to you is why I got emotional the last time I heard Poison sing "Look What the Cat Dragged In" live. I can't explain it to you, but it happened. Brett starts singing those lyrics and I literally like felt myself choking up and I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? It was very bizarre. Very bizarre. All right. Before we get out of here, Catch, 2 quick things that are kind of future portal stuff and whatever I thought you might find interesting. I'm reading through an article from Heather Dinich of ESPN, who follows all the CFP stuff really closely. I think everybody knows who she is. One thing that jumped out to me was, I think this is like right after the championship game, or maybe it's leading up to it. They had a big meeting with all kinds of conference folks and a private equity firm. And it had a big like private equity discussion about how conferences and teams are going to move forward in college athletics. And coming out of it, some people were saying, yeah, I don't know if everybody's going to do that, but I would imagine that there are going to be some teams that look into that path. So just something to file away, especially as you're checking in with sources about NIL and portal stuff. And are you willing to hit the button? And how are you going to get this money together? Just file that one away. But here's the other one for you. They are talking, apparently the coaches are pissed off, the schools are pissed off about the portal, and they want one portal that lasts 10 days. So I want you to tell me where it needs to go. If there's one portal and it's only going to last 10 days, where's it supposed to go? Because they're discussing it as maybe it's one time in January. Like right now, I think is when they're discussing it would happen. Do you think that could work? One time, 10 days, and that's it?
No. And I think guys wouldn't pay any attention to that. If you're going to create something that restrictive, players are just going to do what this. Who was that guy that transferred to Miami? I don't even remember what his name was, but they're just going to say, "I'm taking you to court."
Right.
You already issued a
quarterback
statement
guy.
that the portal is only a portal in theory, that in actuality I can do whatever the hell I want to, and you guys aren't going to stop me. So good luck. But
yeah,
I think they've got to be careful. What they don't want to do is end up in a law. Right now, players seem content because they've given them choices. But if you get any more restricted than, and look, we just saw this guy go, you know what? Screw your rules. I'll transfer when I want to. And what did the NCAA do? Okay.
Yeah, they backed off. Yep.
So, you know, these guys can huff and puff and try to blow the door down all they want to. They're going to get their ass sued. And I don't even think they'd let it go to court. I think they know what would happen. So good luck is all I would say. Because what we'll see is if they're like, we're only going to have a portal, what you would need to do is you have to have all of, because right now, the thing that I can't wrap my head around is that the SEC has told the SEC has voted to limit the number of scholarship players in a program to 85 on a 105-man roster. Nobody else has done that. And you know what Nebraska is doing right now? Planning to have as many scholarships as they can give out.
105 of them.
If they have 105 scholarship athletes and they have no walk-ons, they're trying to win, baby.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens this year in the Big Ten if Ohio State or Michigan or if Penn State's competing for a national championship and they have 95 scholarship players. And what does that mean you're allowed to do? Well, it might mean we're able to take an extra of everything.
Yeah.
One more running back, one more quarterback, one more kicker, like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll make a difference or maybe it won't make a difference. But I know that you and I were very much in pro of like, hey, man, get yourself another punter. There were things that Texas could have done. They took a running back late last year, the Gardner kid.
Yeah.
In the end, it didn't work. But if they just had another running back on campus, that guy would have played this year. So,
yeah. And the other thing that'll do, if you go to 1 10-day window, that's where the SEC will really have to look itself in the mirror. You guys still want to stick with your idea in this portal that if a dude is sick and tired of Auburn, he can't go to Alabama? He can't go to Missouri? You really want him out of the conference? Let's be clear on what you want.
Because in the spring, all the talent from the SEC will flow out.
Right. Because, that's how they've set it up now, only in that springtime. But they allowed for a rule in the winter period where an Isaiah Bond could go from Bama to Texas, where Walter Nolan could go from A&M to Ole Miss. But do they want that, or do they want everybody to be Evan Stewart? Everybody. Like, wherever Evan wanted to go. Now, Evan could have gone anywhere, but they want it to be that way. Evan Stewart wants to leave an SEC school. Well, he's got to go to another conference. Are you sure? Because he went to the Big Ten and they were the number 1 seed in the tournament. They're going to have to figure that out too. Okay, real quick before we get out of here, Catch Opinion Sports Show threw us a $4.99. Thank you, Opinion. What the Wisconsin guy did was unenroll from Wisconsin, and the NCAA said there's no rules that prevents a guy from being eligible at the next school.
Okay.
Yeah. So he found that path.
They will all unenroll.
Yeah, he found the path that could get him there, and that is a wild reaction.
That's
right.
called a transfer. But
yep.
that, you know what I mean? Like,
right. But you don't have to actually technically enter the portal. It's just another way to do it. And maybe that kid unveiled
and that's a little bit like coming out of high school. These kids don't have to sign letters of intent.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
It's true.
What does a letter of intent do? It guarantees on some level that the kid gets locked in. There's a commitment from the kid to the school, but kids don't have to sign them. And in fact, if I had an athlete who was really, really good as my son or in my family, I would advise them to not sign a letter of intent. You can still enroll at the school that you want to, exactly the same as those but you can hold all your leverage. Think about who was the guy that Deuce Robinson, when he was a high school prospect, didn't make his college decision until the summer. All those schools were not going to turn him away because he didn't want to sign a letter of intent. Now, a little ballsy to be like a 3-star and to tell that school who wants you to do it to not do it. It takes some guts to be like, you know what? I've read my rights and I want to come here, but I don't want to give up my – that will sound like quite the anarchist to a football coach, because these are still football coaches that think pledge sheets and the summer of 76 were law-abiding agreements. I will not take drugs and party all night and hang out with stoners. And it's like, who do you think you are? But like that's the mentality still exists that we're going to ask for a commitment and you're going to give us a pledge. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to give away all my leverage. So yeah, no opinion sports show. You're right. There is a little bit of nuance to that, but at the end of the day, the NCAA does not want to be sued. And if the pathway is unenroll, I mean, that's pretty simple to do.
Anything else we need to hit today, Catch?
No, man, I'm good. Let's go have fun. Junior days tomorrow. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage at orangebloods.com. I would think there might be a commitment or two. It's just not important. Kid commits tomorrow. It means virtually nothing. You got to maintain that for another 10 months, which drives the coaches crazy to a certain extent. But, if the right guys want to commit, the coaches will take them. But I think it will be really interesting to kind of see what the vibe is coming out of that. It seems good going in. Texas has been real busy the last 6 to 8 weeks with things other than recruiting kind of first and foremost, at least as it relates to the 2025 class. So my guess is when we show up on Monday, it will be a big part of we'll put a ribbon and bow. I would imagine these Notre Dame offensive linemen will have made their decisions. And then we will talk a lot of recruiting, I would imagine, when we come back on Monday.
Yeah. By the way, if you're a Texas fan and you're looking for a team to support, maybe you do what Matthew did. Go support that women's basketball team. Salute to another big win. Vic Schaefer and his crew.
Good game last night. That was a good game. 17
in a row at home now that
Did
they
you
have
watch
won.
it?
I did. I watched a big hunk of that game. I watched pretty much.
Tennessee girls were shooting, man. I was like, good God, who are they?
It was a good game all around. Got up into the 70s by the end of it. It was really good. Texas got a big win, and they look good. They're 7 in the country coming in. So check out the women's team. Of course, the big men's game against A&M is tomorrow at 1:30 at the Moody Center. We'll see if Texas can get that one as they are trying to find an argument to get into the tournament by the end of this year. All right. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. Football with Friends coming up at 6 o'clock this evening. Check out Alex and Cody to round out your week. Go check out all that content you may have missed. Remember, if you didn't like it on the way in, please like on the way out. And if you're not currently a subscriber to the YouTube channel, it is free. So go ahead and subscribe when you get a chance. We appreciate you. Y'all have a good weekend. By the way, I did reach out to Brian Jones, and he did get back with me, but he's busy today. So we're not into media shutdown. He'll still talk to me. We're going to try him again next week and see if we can get him to talk about, college football and divorces and children on the way and all kinds of stuff. I don't even know if Ketch realizes that was broken last week on the show. That happened. Brian Jones going to have another kid. What?
What?
Who? Right? Exactly. We got to get everything. We got to get all that updated.
What?
Yeah. We'll try to get Brian on the show next week and see if we can clarify all of it. But every time he's on, he ends up dropping some crazy life news. We found out there's a kid on the way last week. We got to get an update. We'll try to do that next week. We'll talk to you Monday at noon.
Oh, Dad.
We'll talk to you Monday at noon on House Divided. Y'all take care, whether you're an old dad or a young dad or not.
70s when that kid's in high school.
Not a dad at all. Ramp leading up to the school. Just a nice ramp right up